Hi everyone. In this video we're going to cover some specific drawing methods and techniques. We're going to learn how to draw a line, how to draw a circle, and what exactly sighting is. So let's start by drawing some straight lines. When you draw your long straight lines, you are going to make an end mark both at the front and back of your line. Okay, you're going to sweep your pencil between those two lines, and you're going to keep your eye on the prize. You're going to keep your eye on the goal, on the end point, and make your pencil end up there. Right? As you draw a line, I want you to keep in mind this idea of line quality. Line quality refers to the crispness, the clarity, and the consistency of your line. Okay? The weight or density of the line should be uniform across the entire length. You shouldn't have one end that's thicker than the other. Okay? I know I already told you to continue to rotate your pencil as you draw a longer line. This will very much help you with your line quality. Your drafted lines, not your freehand lines, but your drafted lines should feel taut or tight. They're going to be stretched tightly between the 2 points. And what you want to avoid, especially in your freehand drawing, but also in your drafted drawing, is drawing your line as several short segments and being able to tell the difference between those segments. Right? You want one long continuous line. Let's talk about corners. When you're drawing your lines, the corners should meet crisply. And one way to do this is to actually overlap just slightly. All right. If you barely make your lines touch or don't quite make them touch, it will look visually like this piece. Your edges will look soft and rounded. Okay. But if you exaggerate this overlap right here, your drawing is not going to look of the high quality with the crisp corners. Right? So there's a little bit of a judgment call there. All right, so let's move to our drawing board right here and draw some lines. I'm going to be using a pen today, so you're going to practice with both pencil and pen. And the first thing I want to do is draw some freehand lines. You want to make a beginning and an end point. I'm going to start at the beginning. Your eye is going to stay towards the end. Let's see how well I can do here. And I'm going to draw a crisp, clean line from beginning to end. And you can do this from any direction. When you draw your corners, okay, you want your lines to crisply meet at the corner. Okay. Remember that any corner that doesn't quite touch is going to look rounded. Next, let's talk about how to draw some circles. I've got two methods for you here that will help you draw some beautiful circles. The first one is called the enclosing square method. You're going to sketch a square. You're going to draw an X in the middle, and you're going to mark 1/3 of the way on the outside of those X's, and then you can connect those to form your circle. Another way is to do the center line instead of the square. Here we go, we have two center lines. You can add the X's, the 45-degree lines, okay, and make a mark at an equal distance all around, and finally do your circle. Let's see those in action. So here we are back on our drawing board, and let's try the enclosing square method. The first thing you want to do is to draw a square. You can do this with your drafting tools, your T-square and triangle. I'm going to attempt to do it freehand here, so let's draw a square. Okay. And you're going to draw the diagonals. Okay. And mark midpoints here. All right. Then you want to come in, see this line right here? You want to come in a third of the way. So 1/3, 2/3, right there. Right. So these are the points that we're going to want to hit. Right. Now you have your circle mostly marked out. Let's go ahead and try to draw it. And you're aiming for hitting all of those marks. Okay. Let's try the center line method. So I'm going to draw a cross on my paper. Here's my center. And I'm going to draw some 45-degree angles. Now I want to mark the same distance all the way around. You can do this, for example, by picking a distance with a pencil. I'm going to go, just in this example, I'm going to go to where this mark is on my pencil. You could use a piece of paper and a little mark on it too. Or you could do this by eye, depending on how much you want to. Okay. I've got my kind of guide dots here, and I'm going to draw my circle. Oops, my circle's a little flat. I missed my mark over here. Okay. I'm going to ask this week that you practice both of these methods. As you go to compose a drawing, it's going to be made up of lines and arcs or parts of circles, and you're going to combine them to create whatever object you're trying to draw. So here's an example of how you might draw some guidelines and block out an object that isn't a simple line or a simple circle. So the first thing you're going to do is get some guidelines and block out the main proportions of the objects. Yet next, they're going to add some guidelines for the different curves and some additional details. So that looks like there's a little circle right there. And finally, using these guidelines, draw the final curve and the completed sketch. If you want to, and if you are doing a formal drawing at this point, you would darken your final lines and gently erase away those guidelines. But how do you get that first drawing where you block out the different proportions of your item? The major method for doing this is called sighting. Sighting is a means of measuring by eye. You're going to use the shaft of a pencil, or some people use their thumb, and you're going to compare the proportions and the relationships of the item that you're looking at and transfer them to your paper. Right? I'm not going to go into a big demonstration here, but please take a look in your module, and I've got some resources for you there to learn about sighting. And then for your activity this week, I've asked you to practice this technique. If you're working off of an existing drawing or a photograph, you can also use a similar technique to maintain proportion in your own drawing. And here's an example of how you would take a look at this drawing of this cabinet and then transfer those different proportions and those measurements to your final drawing. All right, everybody. In this video, we talked about some basic techniques of drawing, and in the next video, we will talk about different line types and line weights.